Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, and we're going to talk about Call to Netherdeep and what it means for the setting race that's happening in Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition right now. Okay, so there is a setting war that's happening in Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, right? Winners and losers, right? So who are the winners and the losers, and what does the new setting book, specifically the what is Call to Netherdeep, how does it impact the setting war that's happening in Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition right now? All right, so first of all, there are people who want every single one of the Dungeons & Dragons settings to come into 5th Edition. There's some small number, right? Some of them are really small. I'll give you an example, right? So the settings in 5th Edition, they're in the settings in 5th Edition are specifically in 3 slots: Queen, Rook, Pawn. I'm a chess player, right? So Queen is like powerful and desired, right? Like you want when you get a pawn to the other end of the table, what do you turn it into? You turn it into a queen because it can move in every direction. It's powerful, it's functional, and it's versatile, right? A rook is a heavy, right? Like it's literally called a heavy piece, right? It's worth like 5 points, and it's a big dog, powerful piece, right? You could checkmate with it very easily, right? As opposed to a bishop or a knight, right? And then last, pawn. Nobody wants pawns, right? Pawns suck, right? So who is the queen of all the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition settings? Super clear. It's Forgotten Realms, okay? There's more, it's got the Suncoast Guide. There's more material for Forgotten Realms in 5th Edition than anything else. So that makes Ed Greenwood king, okay? Right? Because Ed Greenwood wrote, Forgotten Realms, right? Now, what's a pawn? Pelennor. I don't think Pellennor's ever even been mentioned in 5th Edition. It's a loser. It's a loser in the setting war, okay? And then where would we put a rook, right? What's a rook setting? Ravenloft, right? It's gotten 2 books, right? And Forgotten Realms is arguably in every single book that's come out, right? Now, Greyhawk, pawn, okay? It's mentioned every now and then, but the reality is, it's really... Greyhawk is incredibly duplicative of Forgotten Realms, and Forgotten Realms is much more successful and much more known, right? So get this. All right, so let's talk about Exandria. Before, Exandria had 1 book. It was its source book, The Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, which is... Oh, and Wildemount is the continent in Exandria, and then Taladore is the other continent, okay? And Taladore has never been officially kitted out in Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, but you can get some scrub, like 5e Taladore book, right? It's not really canon. It doesn't really matter. But, but D&D, the books with the ampersand, they matter, right? So here's the thing. This is a big deal. Call to Netherdeep is a big deal because it puts Exandria in direct competition with Forgotten Realms, right? Now, why would Wizards of the Coast want to do this? Well, there's multiple reasons they would want to do it. The biggest reason I think they would want to do it is they want a modern setting, right? I think they think it's problematic that Ed Greenwood wrote Forgotten Realms. And here's the issue. One, without a doubt, Forgotten Realms is very loader-based, right? In fact, I would say this, right? What is Forgotten Realms? It's Ed Greenwood rubbing his face on loader. That's all it is. What is Greyhawk? It's Gary Gygax rubbing his face on loader, right? Mystara. What is Mystara? It's some dude who I don't know his name rubbing his face on loader, right? There's just a lot of loader dupes in settings for Dungeons and Dragons, right? So when you go to Exandria, you have a much more modern base, right? And now I do like Forgotten Realms a lot, and I don't know. I think I'm still forming my opinion on Ed Greenwood because I've heard some stories, but that's all I heard. It's just stories, but I don't know. Like some of the stories were a little, right? So I like his content. I'm not sure I'm a fan of the things he did personally, or that I've heard he did personally. So that's that. I'll leave that there. But Exandria is a big deal, and I think now that we're seeing Call to Netherdeep, this gives Exandria juice to be a real competitor in 5th edition for Forgotten Realms, to be the queen setting. And frankly, I do think Wizards of the Coast would absolutely like Exandria to be the queen setting and push Forgotten Realms back to a Rook level. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing. Have a wonderful millennium.